Oh my God, Sin Industries. I know y'all have watched the insurance commercial with Peyton Manning? Was it Nationwide? He made a Luke Critter phrase that fits the jingle.
Peyton Manning, that's that football guy, right?
Yeah. Luke Critter loves
Oh,
chicken parm, that kind of
I
thing.
think we're live.
Are we
Yeah, we are.
live?
We are live.
Good, I sang that out loud. That's amazing.
Ugh.
The things that happen after dark, I tell you.
People who are
So,
out there, if you haven't figured it out, we're back. Embarrassingly.
Oh, whatever. That was amazing. Thank you, Sin Industries, for that little jingle. I'm gonna use that at work probably. I don't know how, but I'm gonna use that at work. Thank you.
it'll work out. The chat is actually not showing up properly though.
Odin.
There we go. Okay, it just showed up properly. Yeah, we're gonna do it live. We've been doing it live the whole time. What are
I
you
brought
talking?
my battle moose.
Everything is ready.
Yep.
Perfect. So, on with the show, part two. We had to do a quick pause in order to get Odin back because he was having trouble with his audio. And the reason we had to get Odin back is because he's a little bit passionate about our next topic, which is the Escort bundle, the Defiant bundle, which includes the Valiant, the Core, which is the Tier 6 Bird of Prey, and the Mayhem class Tier 6 Light Warbird, which is an upgrade of the Tavaro Light Warbird. Odin, are you with us? It's
Odin.
Odin. Don't let this whole thing go to waste.
I think he's getting Kleenex to wipe up the tears.
He might be.
Interesting. All right, well, let me see what I can do here. I'm going to click this and click this. And where is it? This one. So this should be showing up for everyone on the stream. You guys are going to have to actually keep an eye on the chat because I can't see it. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yep. We hear you loud and clear. Let's go with it.
So while we're waiting for Odin to pop back up, we're going to take a look at the three different ships that we get with this pack. Starting off with the Valiant class, the Tier 6 Tactical Escort, which is an upgrade of the Defiant Tier 5 ship. Hull stats looks a little bit low, which is normal, is to be expected. It is a Escort. This is actually the non-fleet version. This is the C-Store version. Shield modifier, of course, 0.9 standard that comes with. Gets the 10% boost for the fleet version. 4-3 weapon layout, as to be expected. It's an Escort, so it only gets the 2 device slots. Remember, this is pretty much the only thing that differentiates an Escort from a Destroyer. The Destroyer gets 3, while the Escorts only get 2. Here's the big difference, the main difference from the Tier 5 version. The Tier 5 version has a Tactical Ensign, where here on the Tier 6 version, they've made it a Universal and upgraded it to a Lieutenant. So that does give the ship a little bit more flexibility. I guess they learned their lesson with the Hestia, the Tier 6 Prometheus, There was a little bit of an outcry because of the tactical ensign that was changed to universal. Unfortunately, the other ship that had a similar problem was the Tier 6 Excelsior, which has a locked-in engineering ensign for a total of 3 engineering ensign powers, which in most people's opinion is fairly useless. Consoles, 4 tactical, 3 engineering, 3 science. At the fleet level, we get a 5th tactical. Turn rate 17, impulse modifier 2, and inertia is pretty high at 70. 15 power to weapons and 5 to engines. We get accuracy, defense, all damage, and crit chance. And the trait is Withering Barrage, which we're going to be mentioning at the end. The fleet version gets the 10% extra hull, the 10% extra shields, and the extra tactical console. And of course, it does not have the mastery, the 5th mastery. The Tier 6 Bird of Prey, the core class, which we have some issues with, but yeah, we're gonna get to that in a little bit. So what we're looking at here is, like all raiders, this is not an escort, this is a raider, comes with 4-2 weapon layout, 4 in the front, 2 in the back. Really not a lot of hull and even less shields, but pretty much everything, all the seats are universal except for, hell, even the commander is universal, so they're all universal. You can pretty much do anything with this ship. Console loadout is 4 tactical, 3 engineering, 3 science, pretty similar to the Defiant. Base turn rate is 23. Very fast turn rate. Impulse modifier is 0.2. Inertia and masteries. On an NPC's flank and 8.3% on a player's flank. Fleet version adds 1 engineering console. 10% hull, 10% fleet shields here. Everything else is the same. Moving on to the mayhem. Another 4-3 setup. And I believe pretty much is similar to what the Tavaro has. I don't quite remember what the difference is. Spencer, do you remember what the seating for the Tavaro is and what could be different here?
No, I didn't really fly that ship that much.
Okay, it's possibly the... Did they add a universal anywhere? Well, of course, there's Lieutenant Commander Universal. Alright, moving on. 3 tactical, 3 engineering, 4 science, 18-degree turn rate, 2 impulse modifier. And here you notice it says Romulan Battle Cloak. We're fairly certain this is a typo. It should be the Enhanced Battle Cloak.
Yeah, and the pictures that were taken on Tribble of the stats show it is an enhanced battle cloak.
And moving on to the fleet version, again, 10% hull, 10% shields, and it gets... Is it the tactical that it gets? Yes. It gets a 4th tactical. Otherwise, everything else remains the same. The console that comes with it, the Quantum Warhead Module. So these console is the same for both the Valiant and the Core. So the Warhead Module contains a load of 6 quantum torpedoes ready for simultaneous fired. Once fired, the system automatically reloads over time. So it'll shoot off, 6 torpedoes at a time? Is it at the same time? Obviously it says simultaneous, but we have to wait and see what that does. At any time, the system can be activated to fire as many torpedoes as are currently loaded. And a passive bonus to projectile weapon damage. The Warbird version is a plasma warhead, and I think it does exactly the same thing.
All right, now that we have the proper dilithium crystals loaded, no singularity core on this damn Federation ship, please continue on, Sir Sarcasm Detector.
I was pretty much near the end of it anyways, but I'll continue here. Clicking Z button. Talking about the end here, the 3-piece of the Emelian Warbird, whereas the other two only got a 2-piece. Reduces recharge time of plasma torpedoes, increases torpedo damage, reduces torpedo ability to recharge. That's just the 2-piece. So that's what, 3 passives for the 2-piece? And then there's the 3-piece, increased torpedo shield penetration. Out of all the 3 ships this time, it looks like the Romulans actually lucked out. So, let's move on to the rant part. What do you guys think of these ships? And before you start, I'm jumping under a table.
First off, I will start and lead this off like this. Everybody expected these ships to come out since we saw it on the leaks. People saw these as the iconic escort ships for each one of the factions. So there have been very high expectations for them. Some even unreasonably high, and I am guilty of one of them, but only from a fanboy perspective. I love the Defiant. I am a Defiant fanboy. When people ask me why am I not flying the Phantom when it's so much better than the T5U Defiant, I say because I love this damn ship. It's a tough little ship, and it gets the job done. So I fly like a freaking oddball. I love the ship. I love the skin. I love its performance. I saw this, and I'm saying there's no reason for me to get out of the T5U and go into that T6. None. Zero. First off, we would love to have seen all 3 of these have pilot maneuvers. I get it. It's a cryptic decision. They want to keep it exclusive to one class of ships so that they can make money off of that as an exclusive only to that, so go buy that one. But this is your game. And this is your game where you can say, hey, look, this feature sells. This feature makes money. Let's add this money-making feature to this item over here that could make money and now make even more money. I mean, money bags. You're a money maker. Tell me, is that not a sound decision?
No, I absolutely agree. Look, this is the kind of bonus where they should have been saying, show me the money, and players were ready to throw it at them. That's what this set represented.
My wallet. My wallet, smacking the microphone right now, was ready to go. Because I saw what the 3 Herald ships were, and I'm saying, okay, that's power, and oh my gosh, power creep. So, yeah, I'm expecting these 3 iconic ships to be iconic. And the only thing that came very close to it is the Romulan one. And in some cases, probably could be just a tad bit on the overpowered side. Just a tad. For the perfect torpedo bomber in the entire game. But, let's put the crazy pilot ship expectations aside. Let's put the 5.2 or 5.1 weapon loadouts aside. Let's keep it with the 4.3 or 4.2 and what they have for the ships. The Fed and the KDF got robbed, and there were so many missed opportunities with what they could have done here that it was just, And the Romulan one gets by because of what they did with the set bonus and the unique flavor to it. And here is what disappoints me the most, is that they did such a good job with putting a unique flavor on the Romulan one, and left the KDF and the Fed one kind of meh, that we look at this and say, okay, you did such a great job here with this aspect to make it feel better than the tier 5 version of it. Why couldn't you do it to these other two? Why not? Why couldn't you involve the quad cannon into the set bonus for it? And then why couldn't you find something else to involve as part of the set bonus for the KDF one? And don't tell me there's no precedent for doing oddball variants for the KDF, because there's been one 2 ship releases ago where you've done that. You released 2 what? Correct me if I'm wrong here, Cam. They released 2 cruisers and they put out a destroyer for the KDF. Am I correct on that?
Sorry, could you repeat that for me, please?
2 ship releases ago, did they not put out cruisers for the Fed and the ROM, and then they put out a destroyer for the KDF?
He's referring to the Dreadnought pack, and that is correct. We had the Galaxy Dreadnought, we had the Kara, if I remember correctly, and then we had the Siege Destroyer, which was the only destroyer in the pack. Yes.
And the pack before that also includes the pack before that, the battle cruiser pack, where we had 2 battle cruisers, which was the Moog and the Arbiter, and then we had a Romulan destroyer, which was the Morrigue, the Moigai variant tier 6, which is a destroyer. Again, so there you have it. I think there might have been one before that as well.
Trying to figure that. Okay, so hold on. We're being told that the Colossi is a destroyer, and we know the Mogai is a destroyer, right?
Correct.
I think yes. Okay, all right. So we know the Mogai was a destroyer and all that there. Okay, so they had a cruiser and then a destroyer and a destroyer that was put out within that same pack. So we'll go with that. But there's nothing wrong with having that set up as we're not releasing them as far as equal ships, but we're releasing these ships here as far as equal, as far as similar in parity. So we can at least say, okay, the Feds get a cruiser, KDF and ROMs get a destroyer. These things are going to perform nicely for their respective roles. Be done with it. So there is that unique flavor that they could put to it. They could have done this here with the KDF and with the Fed. You can make people like me shell out money for Sao Paulo that I have not purchased for the quad cannon if you put it with a nice set bonus with this Valiant, to where we can make the cloak. If you're going to make us reuse the cloak console, fine, I get it. Make that cloak with the 3-piece set bonus of the quad cannon, the new torp console, and the old cloak from the Defiant or the Galax, a battle cloak. Because quite frankly, this 2-piece set bonus makes absolutely 0 sense for the Fed. And for some people who are saying that the KDF, if you're not coming out of battle cloak, you're doing it wrong. Depends on how you fly. You don't want to stay out of battle cloak and then wait to have to recloak again for most of your situations. And the only time you're doing that is if you are guaranteed to make a one-shot kill on coming out of that and you are not going to be in danger. Otherwise, you're going to do hit-and-run tactics every single time, firing a torp, and you get one single burst out of an energy weapon before you recloak again and you zoom the hell out of there. So don't tell me that this 2-piece set bonus makes sense for either faction, because it doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. And I'm going to go Ben Cisco on everybody's freaking ass right now because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it makes less sense for the Federation, but it doesn't really make sense for the Klingons either. And yes, every faction has a quad cannon somewhere.
Exactly. And they could have rolled that into these for a 3-set bonus. And they would have gotten people to purchase more ships, which would bring Cryptic more revenue. They would have had nice set bonuses that would have put up at least in parity with the Romulans. Even if there's a little bit of an off-balance setting here, where we have the Klingons and Romulans having enhanced battle cloak. Great. Good for them. They need it. All right, we don't want enhanced battle cloak on the Federation side, even though it would be nice. And don't say it wasn't in the show, because it was in the show. They had the Defiant had battle cloak. Period. Done. End of this story. It was a Romulan cloak on top of that. So don't say it wasn't there or wasn't even possible. It's there. Done. Point 2. When Salami listened to the fans out there who said, hey, why is this console a photon torpedo for the Valiant? It should be a quantum to match up with what that ship would have been armed with. Quantum torpedoes. So, kudos for listening and changed the console type for the Fed side to be a quantum. But somehow, in the mix-up, the assumption was that, okay, if they want to change for the Fed, they want to change for the Klingon too? No, sorry. Let's make this message clear as a dilithium crystal purified. We want photons for the KDF to match up with the Terran Ordnance set so they have their unique set bonus and everything flows with them nicely. Romulans have it with their plasma weapons, and oh my gosh, they're going to enjoy the heck out of that for the 3-piece. So you're going to get ship sales for people who are going to enjoy Romulans. They're done. They're set. You can argue about bridge layout a little bit, but the Romulans are set with this one. Why not put this console back to photons for KDF only? And it can be done because you demonstrated that with the Romulans. Put it back there for photons. Keep the quantums for the Feds. Bring in set bonuses for that to make it work. If we want to adjust the seating on the Fed side to move the Lieutenant Universal to have been, a Lieutenant Commander Engineering and then an Ensign Universal, we could argue bridge layout seatings and whatnot. I think that would have brought more flexibility into the game for that ship versus making a Lieutenant Engineering and a Lieutenant Universal. Point 3. Pilot for that limited ranking, for that limited seating, it kind of falls flat. Now, I'm not going to knock Pilot because there are some people out there who could do crazy things with the pilot seating. I'm sure there are. Even though a majority of players will probably knock it, I'm sure there are people who could do something nice with it. The same way that people knocked Command for the vet ship, the Manticore. Then when they saw it in action, people were like, oh, wow, Command actually might be good for this ship. You did such a great job with the Manticore and bringing it up to what should feel like a tier 6, a big step up from the tier 5 version. We were expecting that with these ships. And you missed on 2 of them. Badly. So, even though, yes, Pilot, okay, I could see that. Playing off of what I've seen other people who are good with the pilot seating do, putting it on a limited engineering seating is only going to cripple it a little bit more. So we already have a meh, and then with limited seating for pilot, makes it even more meh. Then it's like, if it was me, I would have probably made it, Lieutenant Commander, Engineering / Universal. And then people would put in whatever they wanted to in there and give it that jack of all trades feel. Because if you're really going for that, especially with the Bird of Prey, if you're really going for a jack of all trades feel to it, it would have been Universal / Universal and walk away. And then people been like, buy, here's my money. Buy, here's my money. Even though it has 4 TAC consoles, if you gave it a Universal / Universal, boom, here's my money. I would play KDF full time for that ship if it had Universal / Universal Lieutenant Commander. All right, I'm going to shut up for a minute now and let other people talk.
Okay, I want to jump in just a couple of points here, and just pretty brief. We mentioned this earlier in the show. There is a precedence for having a 3-piece console giving out a battle cloak. It has already existed since season 8 with the Voth 3 set, the consoles you got from the ships. So they can do it. It gave the Feds a battle cloak, and I guess you can say the Klingons as well. The Romulans didn't really need it. An argument can be made that the Bulwark is so rare that not everyone could have gotten it. But really, you guys, do you want the money? That's the question I am asked. Do you want our money or not? The second point is the ships. It would have been very easy to make 3 pieces for all the ships there. I mean, like you said, the quad cannon is available for both Feds and the Klingons as well. I believe the Romulans also have a quad cannon in there. And I'm actually forgetting something. I had another point to make. But in any event, I'll leave it. I'll open it up for the other guys to talk because I want to say some other things at the end.
You can't come in and follow these kind of rants with much, but I will say I was disappointed by the Defiant for agreeing with Odin. It was one of those iconic ships I was looking forward to. And as someone said in chat, these should have been the pilot ships instead of what they released several months ago, because we know that they are capable of the pilot maneuvers just from what we saw from the show. I mean, we can reference Shattered Mirror when you saw the Defiant bobbing and weaving underneath that giant mirror Negvar, or you can reference one of the final battles where it's doing loops. So it was something that even if they didn't do pilot maneuvers that are already in the game, we could have seen a variation of pilot maneuvers. We could have seen a more dynamic bridge officer layout that was maybe just different in hybrid seating or different in its layout. The weapon, it screams to me you'd be just as good off buying the Fleet T5U. Just spending the money for that. And that's very disappointing to me because, like Odin said, we've been hearing about these through rumors, through various other sites. They're coming. And when they're here, it's not something that, instead of me opening my wallet, I'm going, yeah, I'll wait for the next pack. I'm not really going to go for it. I'll wait. And I know that's not what Cryptic wants to hear from the player base, but that, for a lot of us, when we're seeing that ships that we already own are just as good, if not better, than what they release, it's kind of what we say. And yes, I agree with you said, Alan, in chat, attack pattern Cisco. That should have been a thing. That's all I got.
I mean, we didn't even get to the trait, and go into detail as far as the trait is concerned. The biggest thing with the gunship guild that needs to be addressed with cannons, and engineers get the freebie on this one, thanks to Sarcasm Detector on one of his episodes explaining how engineers can make great cannoneers. If you haven't seen it, we'll put a link in here. Go listen to it, go watch it, go learn something. But you got 2 issues as a cannoneer. 1, range drop off. Horrid. If you're not within 3 clicks of your target, forget about it. You're just throwing peas at it. And it's going to be that old moldy peas, not this really hard stuff or the fresh stuff. It's old and moldy. It's going to go splat as soon as it hits a deflector or a window or even somebody's goggles. No good. 2, you are going to suffer with energy drain. You're not going to have a very nice way of keeping everything capped up as easily as beams do. You can still do it, and engineers get a much easier time doing it than taxer size. But you are still going to have to deal with that energy drain and recovery. The
There's
trait
only 2
could have...
issues?
Pardon?
There's only 2 issues with cannons?
Well, 2 of the biggest issues right now. The biggest issues. Forget the crit D issue. Forget the other issues with it. Those are the 2 biggest issues with it right now. And the Gunship Guild can back me up on it. This trait could have addressed one of those 2. Probably the one that needed to be addressed the most would have been dealing with the range drop-off issue. Whether you up the base damage on the cannons or if you say deals with something with the range drop off by 35%, or extends the full damage done to cannons by 25%. So instead of like 3 clicks, you'd be at 4.5 or 5 clicks out. And you're thinking, that's only 1.5 to 2 kilometers. Does it really make that much of a difference? Hell yes, it does. Hell yes. So you could have addressed it that way. Or even if you wanted to keep it where you have cannon scatter volley all up in everybody's business for, what was it uptime again, Cam? 98% uptime if you're doubling up on those abilities for CSV?
96% or 93%? 93%.
93%. We'll call it 93% on there to say 93% of the time you're activating cannon scatter volley is going to be up. Nice. If you're going to sit still, never fly past your targets, and keep them in front of you and not turn your ship. Now, last time I checked, who flies an escort like that?
It's perfect for a no-win scenario.
Yes,
it's perfect
no
for no-win if you were sitting there, but where's no-win?
It's being worked on, remember?
Right. There's one thing I have to disagree, Odin. I disagree that the trait should have dealt with the drop-off rate, the damage drop-off rate with cannons, because it shouldn't have to be a trait to deal with this thing. That issue with cannons should be fixed once and for all without having to pay for it.
I get it. I understand that, but at least that could have been an excuse. I'm trying to give them an out here. I'm trying to give them an out. It could have been an excuse. It could have been something to do with it, and I don't know, guarantee a ship sail or something. I agree with you. It should be natively fixed, but that was an option. Another option could have been don't just make it available only to cannon scatter volley. Include cannon rapid fire with it as well.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, why is it honed in on scatter volley and why not both? Like, this would have been a really good opportunity to boost
rapid
people
fire.
And make people actually want to maybe use cannons a little bit more. Be like, hey, look, there's this awesome trait. Like, whenever I used cannons, I didn't use scatter volley all that much. I used rapid fire most of the time.
If you think back to the way that all right, so in the case of this particular three-piece or three-ship set, there are 3 different components. There's the Romulan ship, which I think there is a universal agreement that this is a really good ship. It's if there was one to be excited about, that's the good one. But let's talk about the Defiant and the BOP a little bit in the history of the game, because I've played since beta. So when I first started playing Star Trek Online, I got my Fed character to about 35, and I quickly cut over to Klingon. Now, the game was different at the time. The game was more PvP-centric for people who were playing at the end game. PvP was a big part of the end game at that time. And the Bird of Prey was a big part of the Klingon experience for most players who played Klingon and who were playing in the PvP in-game content. A lot of people that are still playing from those times will remember that. The Bird of Prey was the big ship for up through about season 1.5 into kind of getting into season 2 when new ships were introduced and people started migrating to the new ships. But the Bird of Prey was played in a way that I guess they decided about this stupid raider mechanic to kind of fit that play style of the time. But at the same time, most of the ships that the Feds played were things like star cruisers and assault cruisers, and you could come in back behind and then you could cloak as you were kind of tailing off after a run. That's all nice and good, and I understand that. Everybody used rapid fire. It wasn't cannon scatter volley. It was rapid fire. Cannon scatter volley was a skill used by Fed escorts, so that you're basically spraying all the bird of preys that are charging you. The game was different. Now, a bird of prey, when they reintroducing it, and I don't know, but outside of maybe Karat, there have not been people playing the bird of prey at any broad level in years. So it was an opportunity for Cryptic to say, okay, we're going to reinvent the bird of prey for the player community. And that's the lost opportunity that I see. I was ready to... I can't think of a the ships besides the Defiant and the Bird of Prey that have been more anticipated by the player community in a long, I know for all year, at least this year, maybe next year. There was a lot of hype for the pilot ships. I think people were excited because we had already seen the pilot reputation mechanics, and we had some ideas of how Intel worked, and there was some excitement there. But the Defiant, the Bird of Prey, I mean, I'm ready to throw my money at Cryptic for these ships. The letdown is obvious. It's across the community. It's Facebook, it's Reddit, it's the forums. People were so excited. The anticipation was there. The letdown is obvious. I don't know if that means that they're not going to sell the ship. I'm sure they'll sell plenty. I think that when it's said and done, they're going to look at the numbers and say, wow, we thought we would probably sell more. And we'll see. But one of the things that they've screwed here is that they have taken the two biggest opportunities to create iconic ships that people really want to play, people really want to buy, and they didn't produce them in a way that felt unique. The Romulan ship is very unique. It's got all of the intangibles that you would kind of want. I mean, there's not a lot of T6 Romulan options right now anyway, but it stands out as one that I will probably play if I was to buy this set, which I don't plan on at this time. But the Bird of Prey, I could not wait to put my engineer back in it. Flew it for a season and a half back in season 1 and season 2. Loved the Bird of Prey. Couldn't wait. My Fed TAC played the T5, the Sao Paulo, and then the fleet version of the Defiant after that, right up until Delta, when he moved over to the Phantom Fleet. At release, tomorrow after the patch, here's the problem. The Defiant is the 6th best T6 Federation escort. What the fuck? Are you kidding me? The 6th best T6 Federation escort is the Defiant? The way I would address it is definitely with the dual cannons. Nobody will ever buy the 1500 Zen Sao Paulo again. Why would you? There's no reason to ever buy it again. So obviously, if you could use the quad cannons rather in some mechanic that would add value to the ship, it makes sense that you would do that. If it was me, I would go the route of, say, the Dyson ships, which have a specific slot for a specific weapon, and just add that slot and say you can drop your quad cannon into that slot. I think that the rest of the ship could stay how it is, but if you do that, all of a sudden you have an iconic ship. In the first 4 seasons, or the first 2 seasons where the Defiant was in Deep Space Nine, I think it was like season 4, 3, 4, that in that area, through the Klingon War and stuff. It was a cannon ship, and then later on it had more beams at the end of the big battles at the end of season 7. You know, it could play the mix of both a beam boat with this quad cannon. There's opportunities there, and the same goes for the Bird of Prey. 4-2. Let's do the math. It's got the lowest hull of any T6 ship. It's got the lowest shield modifier of any T6 ship, and it's got the lowest possible maximum DPS of any tactical ship in the game. And this is supposed to get people excited about the Bird of Prey. There's so many issues here that really scream out their obvious math capable of illustrating problems. Cryptic, what the fuck, man? You don't want money? That's my rant.
And there was a question about the best. Thing that some people were saying the best is subjective. I'll be the first one to say the best in some cases, especially depending on what you're looking at, should not be subjective. I mean, we should be looking at the Defiant. The Defiant was the epitome in the show of an escort, a warship, as they classified it unofficially. That should be, the best as far as maneuverability, damage output, versatility. It should be the best. If it's not the if it's not the best, like the second best comparative to something coming out. But there are situations where best is not suggestive. It should be something, because that strives you to go for something as a final goal.
And it's canon. I mean, it was Goldacott who described the Defiant as one of the most powerful ships in the quadrant. This is literally, of all of the 6 There's now this will be the 6th tactical T6 ship. Which one would you say that it's quote better than? Is it better than the Fleet Phantom? I don't think so. I'm going to actually stay in the Fleet Phantom. Is it better than the recently released Advanced Escort? If anything, it's similar. It may or may not be, but if you're going to take advantage of the mechanic in the Defiant, you're giving up a console slot. Are you excited about giving up that console slot? I'm not. I wouldn't. I'm not even going to do it.
Yeah.
For a cloak? By the way, the cooldown will be reduced, but try to get out of combat to use it.
Exactly. I mean, it's part of the whole mechanics with it. It's like, all right, hey, look, I get a cooldown here that'll start when I'm out of combat. Yay.
Which is ridiculous.
Yay.
I mean, it's almost like it was such a massive opportunity. These are ships that we want to be the best. I don't necessarily want the bird of prey to be as, the best, better than some of the Raptors and stuff in terms of the overall firepower. But don't tell me flanking. How am I going to flank a planet killer in the Undying Battle Zone?
Well,
are you serious?
Those are now. Let's be realistic here with it. Those are just the one-off situations there. But
no. But the flanking mechanic is built for the speed and the I mean, the ambush. I understand that's a great advantage, but that's not something unique to the bird of prey.
Right. But hear me out on this one, though. Even with those one-off scenarios there, you're looking at the majority of the time, this thing is going to come in here and alpha strike like a mofo on an unsuspecting target, whether it be an NPC or a player. Its job is to come in, hit hard, and get the heck out of there, hopefully undetected. That's why it has such a low hull, low shield rating, and low survivability in a stand-up fight. The Defiant's supposed to take a little bit more punishment than that and come out, whether scathed or unscathed. But it's still going to hit hard, take some punishment, and get out of the situation alive. That's what it's supposed to do. So if people are going to argue that it's supposed to be a bit of a jack-of-all-trades type of ship, but still with the Escort flavor and the Escort punch, fine. Make it so. I'm not seeing this here. There is no reason for me right now, and I'm a torpedo guy, and I'm looking at that torpedo console and say, good. But everything else around it? No. Make me get out of my T5U Defiant and make me get this. What I'm seeing right now says no. I'm going to break out Ben Sisko's mother pimp hand out of here and say no.
Okay. I want to give Alan and Spencer a chance to jump in here if they have anything to say.
Spencer, go ahead.
My thoughts on this pack are, when I heard about the pack being released, I went and got 5,000 Zen. The following day, when I saw the stats, I ended up with 2,000 Zen and a few new nice upgrades. That's my thought on this pack. I'm not even going to bother with it.
Yeah, for me, there's nothing that really... I might purchase it later on when I have money and I don't have to buy any more music for future videos. For nostalgic purposes, there's nothing in this ship that makes me want to buy it. The Hestia... there's a few things, like I love the Prometheus from Canon. That was one of my favorite iconic ships. That I felt like I wanted to get it. Odin said earlier, when the Manicore came out, that felt like a T6 ship. When I saw the stats for the Manicore, putting the gorgeous revamp on the nacelles aside, when I saw the stats and all that, I was excited. Like, I was pumped. I was retweeting on Twitter. I was trying to get pictures. The day it was released, I got home. I was doing screenshots. I was going tits out on this thing. Like, I was so excited for it. I love the Defiant and DS9, and this just, I feel nothing. Like, I have no feelings for it. I don't feel like But my wallet is, I'm not throwing it at the monitor.
Yeah, and it's kind of the thing for all of us that yeah, we're not throwing it. Now, of course, there are comments saying it will sell because Defiant is Defiant and Core is T6. But here's the point that I think we can all agree on. It's going to sell regardless.
Yeah.
But it could have sold exponentially more had they done a better job as far as what they were presenting and going more towards what we saw in the show to have an apex for this ship. It'll still sell. You'll still have fanboys. I mean, I can count Odin as a fanboy, and he's not buying it. But there are going to be some that are going to buy it for collector's purposes or just because, hey, it's the newest version of it, that kind of thing. But they missed the mark on maximizing the profit from it. They'll make profit, but not as much as they could have. And when they realize that, it will be too late.
Yeah, I got a coworker who is a Defiant DS9 fanboy. He has not played STO in the past year and a half to 2 years. He has a lifetime sub, and he's just been letting his 500 Zen every month just pile up, pile up, pile up. And I told him last week, hey, there's a new T6 Defiant coming out next week. And he's like, oh, right on. I'll probably use my Zen and go purchase it. I'm like, are you going to come back and play the game, though? He's like, probably not.
All right. I want all of you to take a deep breath and relax a little bit. And don't kill me when I state this next piece of opinion here. But we've had this discussion before. Let's look at the pattern here of pretty much all the ships, all the Tier 5 ships that got reissued as Tier 6. And there's been quite a number of them. Of the ones that actually got a nice boost going up to Tier 6, you can count them on one hand. So,
Yeah.
the Arbiter, the Avenger Moog, the Avenger/Moog, we'll count that as one ship because for all intents and purposes, they are the same ship. And that got a nice upgrade when it went up to Tier 6. The Manticore, as it was brought up, that got a nice upgrade to Tier 6. The Hapax actually got a nice upgrade. It went from being a really crappy cruiser to being a somewhat crappy dreadnought. So, not that great, but it's still better than it was before with a Tier 6 upgrade. And I believe the last one would be the Klingon Heavy Escort, which was just a plain Raptor before at the Tier 5 level, and when it went to Tier 6, it got a hangar bay. So that was a nice improvement. Pretty much all the other ships that got the Tier 6 reissue have not been really good upgrades. I mean, look at the Galaxy. From the Galaxy to the Galaxy Tier 6. It didn't really benefit that much. The Dreadnoughts, apart from the one that I mentioned, not much of an upgrade. The Excelsior. Okay.
Sorry.
The Prometheus, the Hestia. The Hestia is a fantastic ship, but that's because the original ship, the Prometheus, was a fantastic ship. There really isn't that much of an upgrade going from the Prometheus to the Hestia. So you have that pattern there. Apart from a few ships, they're really not a big deal going from Tier 5 to Tier 6. So I think people's expectations of this particular pack, were a little bit too high. And it just goes to show this is the reason why Cryptic doesn't leak information ahead of time. Because people will get their hopes up, or they'll make assumptions, or they'll make speculations. And then when it is released, people will lose their shit. So in that regards, I sympathize with Cryptic in that regards. So just take it as it is. Just let's look at the ship as itself. Forget about everything else. And just let's take a look at the Defiant, for example. The first one, the Tier 6, the Valiant. It is a decent ship, and whether it's sixth place ship in the rankings of Federation Escorts or it's first place, it doesn't really matter because the comparison is really, really small. The percentile difference here, or the standard deviation between them DPS wise, is going to be less than the built-in fuzz of the game. Remember, the game itself, when you're doing DPS, has a fuzzy factor of plus or minus 14% approximately. It varies a little bit. So if the DPS of one ship, like the tier 5 ship and the tier 6 ship, is less than that 15%, plus or minus 15%, you know what? It doesn't really matter. If the DPS difference between the number 1 DPS ship escort and the number 6 DPS escort is less than plus or minus 15%, it makes absolutely no difference. The core, the tier 6 BOP, people have been asking for this ship for a long, long time. Now, I agree it should have been a 5-1 like the Baltim was, and it's going to suffer a little bit from being a 4-2. But let's face it, in most circumstances, Raiders do not compete with Escorts or Raptors. They just have that lack of that one weapon is seriously hurting them. I think the core actually has another issue where it only has 4 tactical consoles.
4 attack consoles at the fleet version. It's a 4-3-4. 4 engineering, 3 science, 4 tac at the fleet version.
It's the same console slot as the Tactical Command Battlecruiser and the Tactical Odyssey T5U. It's the same console slotting.
Right. Which hurts it in its current iteration. It hurts it.
It's a terrible, terrible looking ship. It's a glass cannon that can't shoot.
It's supposed to be spike, and you need 4 tac consoles on a ship that is all about hit and run. Hit hard, kill a weak target, kill a medium-sized target, and seriously wound a heavy target. I'm supposed to walk around with this bloody thing, decloak, just fire while still battle cloaked, alpha strike a freaking tac cube from behind, and veer off before it decides to throw a plasma torpedo at me, and I'm supposed to see big numbers on the screen when that thing hits, whether it's a torpedo or torpedo and a burst of some sort of energy weapon, or just straight torps and drop a mine.
Okay, we get it. Yeah,
I'm mad, man. I'm mad.
I understand. So the core might need to be looked at. I really think the core really needs to be looked at, considering we have the Baltim. Look at the freaking Baltim. Look at the core, and the question is, what the fuck? Let's take a look at the Romulan ship, the tier 6 Tavaro. This ship, what is there to complain about? It is really, really good. Although there are still some tier 6 ships that might be better than it. I think the Fayette might still outperform it. There might be some tier 5 ships that are actually, you know what? I think the Fayette for sure will still outperform it. There might be a couple other tier 6 Romulan ships that outperform it as well. I think the HEC might outperform it as well.
Yeah, I'd say the Fayette's going to do much better, especially with the intel seating.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thing. It's really not that big of a deal. Like, people wanted so much more. I get that. I understand. There are issues. But putting all these expectations on this one ship or this one pack of ships and getting so disappointed when we already know Cryptic's pattern with these ships, you're just basically upsetting yourselves. So what I'm trying to say is, take a deep breath, relax. It's not that big of a problem. You don't like these ships, just don't spend the money on them. People are gonna buy them anyways because like people said, it's the Defiant. It's a tier 6 Bob. It's a Tavaro. People are going to pay for them. And just, I want to make a point here. The movie, one of the Transformer movies, what was it? Dark Side of the Moon or whatever it is, or The Fallen. I think it was the second one. That one was probably one of the most grossing, profiting Transformers movies ever. And the critics hated it. Absolutely hated it. But it made shit tons of money. So these ships are going to make cryptic money. And for those of us in the know, for those of us who review, for those of us who have opinions on this ship, well, we can just, fuck us. Who cares? Because they're still going to be making money.
Well,
and that's the point. So
after I borrow some gravel from you so I can eat some for the next couple of days, Timberwolf brought up a good point here. New players are going to be looking at this and saying, do I want a tier 5 version of this or the tier 6? Odds are, go with the tier 6. You're going to get a little bit more out of it versus the tier 5U upgrade path. So, I mean, that part there is a no-brainer. For those who have the tier 5 variants of it and you're only looking for that particular ship, you have a lot to think about and to make a decision on.
I was just going to say the T5U Defiant, it looks like they just did a copy pasta, put it into the T6. All right, let's look at the bridge officers. All right, throw a dart and let's see which one gets a pilot seating. Like it's there, yeah. It's
and I'll reference the chat because we have had some comments about, well, all this exaggeration and it doesn't have God mode, so people are upset. It's simply, if we're going to be looking at a T6, and this is from the veteran standpoint. From the new player standpoint, they're just going to see T6. T6 is the highest grade. They're just going to look at that. They're probably not even going to look at the older ships at all. But going on, most of us that have been playing for a while, even if it's only 6-7 months and you've been able to see the trends, you're wanting to have a decent upgrade from T5U. And so you're going to look at it, and if you don't see a definable upgrade, it doesn't have to have God mode, it doesn't have to have Uber consoles, but if it has a decent upgrade status, it makes it worth the purchase. For a lot of the people that have been playing for a while, that makes up a good chunk of the player base and consistent income, then this is where this is one of the packs that falters. And it for economic purposes for the veteran players, that's what we're looking at, is if it's an upgrade, we'll buy it. If it's not, we'll pass. Whereas new players are simply going, ooh, T6, it's shiny, it's something I like, I'll buy it. And that's pretty much the divide when it comes to these packs.
And for realistically, at least from my perspective, for a lot of people around there, I know QWhip is going to be big on this. Cephalo, for when you're out there, man, and you're Bob, I know you have a hard decision trying to decide whether you want to get this one or not. But we weren't looking for this thing to have pilot ship maneuvers and do all sorts of crazy things with a modified weapon loadout to put everything up in front, even though that would make sense and that would instantly have us shelling double the amount of what the price tag is here on this one. We would have bought that. But being realistic here, we weren't looking for that. We were looking for a Manticore moment, or even a modified Hestia moment. We're looking for that type of moment where it was like not a tremendously huge upgrade, but hey, it's an upgrade and it's good and it performs better than its predecessor. That's what we were looking for. We didn't get it.
I don't know. I think the Valiant probably outperforms its predecessor by a margin. Might be a small margin, might be a big margin, but it'll still outperform. The Tavaro probably outperforms its predecessors. The Core, well, never mind.
And when that better obviously is subjective, yes, but I'm looking at the Valiant here, and based off the way I fly this thing, even if I threw on a cannon build on this, a cannon build, yes, or just straight torps and what I used to do with my Defiant, it would be this. hey, look, I got an ensign universal. What am I going to do? Obviously, yeah, sorry, a lieutenant universal now instead of an ensign tactical. What am I typically going to do with this thing? Something on the ensign slot. If I'm rich, probably chemo. If I'm going to copy what I have from my ship over, it's going to be chemocide in the ensign slot. And then maybe attack pattern beta? Woo. Really? Yeah, I'm excited. Oh, but I got pilot maneuvers on ensign and lieutenant for the engineering seating. So I kill off a little bit of my survivability or maneuverability to add. Well, I get a little bit more maneuverability with pilot, yeah? I could do a hold together, right? Couldn't I? Yeah, so that might help a little bit.
Isn't the pilot seat the lieutenant commander tack?
Pardon?
It is. The lieutenant commander tack is the pilot seat.
Oh, the lieutenant commander tack is the pilot seat. Sorry, not the engineering one. Okay, all right. So lieutenant commander tack. So I have a commander tack, a lieutenant commander tack / pilot. So I'm going to have to give up something decent on there. No high yield 3 or torp spread 3 or cannon rapid fire 2 or cannon scatter volley 2 for a pilot there, unless I'm willing to sacrifice for a lower rank pilot ability, which may not be all that great. So what else am I left with here? I have a commander tack, lieutenant commander tack / pilot. I have lieutenant psi, lieutenant engineering, and then a lieutenant universal. Alright, I could probably load up with lieutenant commander and lieutenant for pilot abilities, and then double up on the lieutenant
Engineer.
spots for tack and engineering, or a little bit more survivability. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Well,
we'll
look
have
at
to
it
play
this
around
way.
with it.
Look at it this way. The original Defiant had the problem that it had too many tactical ensigns. It suffered from that tactical ensign problem, which a lot of the early escorts had. They took that out and they gave us instead a lieutenant universal. So
I am
there's
happy about that.
one thing I for my escorts, for all my ships actually, I like to have at least, at the minimum, 3 engineering powers. Would prefer more along the lines of 4 to 5 engineering powers, even on an escort. So for this ship, turning that ensign tactical into a lieutenant universal will allow me to run those 4 powers. So especially if you're running against heralds or even against the Terrans, you will be able to run 2 copies of emergency power to something, plus an engineering team, and then you have room for a reverse shield polarity, or a Ox to Sif, or a Dem.
Do you know what that means? You can put Ox to Bat on it.
I will end you.
I may actually just get the Defiant now, just to do that. Fly around here.
No.
I might do that now.
No, but you know what? Flipping on to the good news of it, even though this new Warbird here is on par with, or in your guys' mind, slightly subpar to the Tavaro, it still is designed decently for a torpedo boat with psi abilities. This thing is going to be a monster for alpha striking in PvE and PvP. It's designed well. It's going to be nice. You're going to be able to throw a grav well out there for PvE environments, and you're going to be able to hit hard in PvP, whatever is left of it. But even then, there are some targets in PvE that would still warrant a nice alpha strike, and this ship will deliver it. That's excluding the 3-piece, which also, let's bring this part up to it. These consoles mean that you're going to have to trade off another console for it. And if for people who want to build a Terran Ordnance set, or use disruptors for their builds, or plasmas for their build, or anything else for that build, you're going to have to make an opportunity cost decision here. Now, what is it, CBAs, cost benefit analysis, all this other crap, right, blah, blah, blah. What is it that you're going to give up to get these consoles on here, and is that trade-off worth it? For the Romulans, the answer is yes if you're running either A, a thematic boat, or B, the torp boat from Stavokor. And that sells it. That sells it. We're looking for that type of, wow, this is going to be good, barring the final numbers. This is going to be really good. Now, get this really good feeling put onto these other two ships. Please.
You can run the Klingon ship as a science vessel. Hey, look at that.
Yes, really. I'm going to start chucking, I don't know, grav wells and flower power all over the place. Yes.
Actually, that is probably exactly.
Oh, we just lost them.
That'll be how the ship is used most commonly, for sure. The core. I mean, it comes out. If you think about it, that's really the most effective way to make your build with the bird of prey, and that's not unusual. That's how it has been used most effectively since basically season 2 or so. I mean, it used to be the ship of choice that you would use for your photonic shockwave disable, and then completely crush them with a flanking maneuver or something in PvP.
Yeah, I don't miss that one bit. Photonic shockwave.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And then, oh look, I just see a warbird just coming out and decloak. Sorry, not warbird, a bird of prey just coming out decloaking and firing all sorts of torps at me. And why can't I move? Oh, he just hit me again. Oh, I'm dead.
Yeah, there's going to be. I mean, that's really the mechanic that bird of prey ended up using was all of the science skills, because the 4.2 prevented it as new ships were being released at the time, particularly over seasons like 2, 3, 4. That was the only. It was a one-trick pony, and I got to tell you, if you're going to use the bird of prey most effectively outside of PvP, I'm not really sure how you do it, but in PvP, the one-trick pony is what you're going to have to go for.
Yeah, you grav well, you fire your torps out while in cloak. You pulse out an energy weapon or two just so you don't break your battle cloak, and then you cloak and you veer off. Come back in, wash, rinse, and repeat.
And then you get wrecked by a pilot ship running attack pattern lambda that sees you 10 kilometers away.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah,
yes.
Well, you know what? That's PvP, and that's dead. So, dead.
Well, I mean, it is. I mean, if I recall, the invite to challenge match doesn't even work right now.
Yes,
yeah,
you're right.
It's completely broken. Yeah, that's true.
So it's for all intents and purposes, it's dead. But all right, I could see this. Where you could run the bop and you put aux to damp on that thing, move quickly, get in range of your target, drop it. But in the world of power creep, 4 attack consoles, really?
It's 4 attack consoles with 4.2 with a trait that focuses on cannons but doesn't have anything tied to the quad cannons. I mean, you start saying it out loud and it sounds silly.
Hold on a second. It just didn't work. Nah, I tried to smack some sense into me. It didn't work. No. Anyway,
okay. Do you think we've had enough of this topic and should maybe jump onto some of the stuff we actually skipped ahead of to get?
Go for it.
So, some of the topics we skipped ahead of, the battle zones, the Badlands Battle Zone. A quick analysis. Who was supposed to be talking about that?
Well, we all were kind of in a round table thing. This is just your opinion of it. I personally like the way they did the graphics of it. I mean, it justified me getting the video card that I've gotten to see this for STO. It's way overkill for STO, but I cranked all the settings up. It looks nice. It feels very, very... what's the word I'm looking for here? Emergency role-playing hologram?
Immersion.
Oh, yes. I was just so into the immersion of it. Yeah, this is the Badlands. I'm drifting around a little bit in all these plasma eddies, and I'm thinking, damn, I'm going to get hit by this stuff. Oh, I'm actually taking damage by this damn plasma tornado here. This is good. So I like that. I like that feel. There are some things that are a little bit quirky. There are a couple bugs here and there, especially when you're trying to locate areas to try and activate or deactivate something, and you're hitting it and it's just suddenly gone for no reason, even though you're sitting still and it's sitting still. But yeah, I digress. there needs to be more to it, though. It's still missing something compared to the other battle zone. Even though it's the same thing there, that battle zone still had a little bit more. It's not the atmosphere, but it's like the sense of it being less repetitive. And some of the mechanics you have to deal with there, there's not enough variety in it. And the ISS Enterprise needs to be tougher. Not this paperweight that 15 random people with tier 3 ships can come in there and literally obliterate it in less than 10 seconds. It needs to be tougher. It needs to feel like the dreadnought that it's supposed to be. And if Lita's blessed by the Pa Wraiths, then so be it. Envelop her in some sort of huge electron shell or something like that to absorb a lot more damage. Make it feel powerful. And when you drop something that powerful, you get a nice reward from it. Not that, hey, look, I survived this thing. I get all these this is pathetic. This is pitiful. So, well, I guess I'll sit here in spacebar spam with beams and collect marks and move on. That's it. No, it's not working there. But that's just my opinion of it.
I personally absolutely love the battle zone, the Badlands Battle Zone. I do think it could use some polishing and less annoying cutscenes. Yes, I agree. There are some extra mechanics that you have to keep in mind. Like you basically do need to have like polarized hull mandatory on your ship. No questions asked. Even just attack pattern Omega is not enough. Ox 2 dampeners is not enough. You have to have that. It is a little bit more complicated, I would say, or the mechanics that you required to do is a little bit better than what was in the space battle zone in the Dyson sphere.
Yes.
And I do like that. I do like that. I mean, what was the other one? You went to those 4 points, you shut it down, and then you attack the ships in the center, or you spin around the yo-yo for a little bit, or you go down that Romulan thing and just push the little thing forward every single time. This time here, it's a little bit more complex. You have that nebula ship coming and pushing you out away from the satellite, or you have to move between the power satellite and its auxiliary satellite, and having to close it and switch back and forth between those things. It is, I think, a little bit better. Even the final fights against the stations, is better than what we had at the in the space battle zone, the previous one, where it was just a pure DPS check with two time gates to them. Here you have to actually do certain things in order to progress. So I like that. I don't like the fight at the end though. I didn't like it in the Voth battle zone. I don't like it, the Undyne battle zone. I don't like it in this one. It's really under rewarding. I think if you maximum, I think I've won out of it was 5 marks. So yeah, that's absolutely rubbish. At that point, when that pops up, I'm just gonna switch to another instance and stuff like that. I think the rewards, they've done something. They've improved it a little bit. I think it can use a little bit more improvement, but we're still in the first couple of weeks of it, so hopefully things will improve.
Yeah, so far, my thoughts pretty much mirror yours. I'm really enjoying the battle zone. I'm liking how at the certain checkpoints there is little extra things that you have to go do before you can get to the main objective. I find that it actually keeps you on your toes a lot, whereas in the Voth battle zone, you weren't really on your toes so much. It was just come in, do this, sit there in that one spot, and wait and then just spam the space bar and avoid the yellow clouds, whatever they're called. This one feels really good. It kept me on my toes. It's definitely a challenge trying to stay within the parameter of that power generator when the nebula comes flying in with its repulsors, it's like, geez. But yeah, I thought it was really well done, and yeah, I don't really have any complaints. Well, there's a couple of bugs here and there on a couple of points where I actually had to change zones and start all over, but it's fun enough that I didn't mind too much.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of when they first released the Undying Battle Zone. They had some performance issues, and they had a few reward issues, and it's a very similar situation here, but they were able to work out those issues over the first 3 weeks. I believe it took about 3 weeks with the Undying Battle Zone, and I suspect that it's going to happen the same with the Badlands. But the thing that separates the Badlands that I like better than, say, the Undying Battle Zone, as we compare the two, is, first of all, the art. I mean, phenomenal. I think the art for Stowe in general every season is fantastic. It's getting better and better. We were talking about the ships earlier. For all the complaints that you can have about some of the mechanics of the ships and things of that nature, the art looks phenomenal. The Badlands art is phenomenal, particularly on high graphics. If you can handle the performance hit, if you can get into an instance that's not really rocking, and if you're not in the same within visual range of every other ship on the map, I think there's some performance tweaks that they can do. The attention to detail in terms of the progression, right up into the very to the whatever you want to call it, the boss at the end, where you're having to do the bases and stuff. I think the progression is fantastic. The last battle, I'm kind of with Odin on that. It's anticlimactic. It's a lot of, I don't know what the word is. Maybe it's just a matter of a lot of redundancy. It seems like you kind of take a little bit of the tactical, or maybe even the strategic way you would approach problems out of it. It's very mechanical in terms of how you complete it. I think that they have opportunities there to maybe do some tweaking too, but after they figure out the rewards and the performance issues. But the base of this battle zone is phenomenal, and I look forward to them thinking through perhaps how to tweak a few things and make it even better.
Can I just comment on something aside? Well, kind of has to do with the battle zone, but more with the new stuff that's coming out. The art is. I love how much better the art in the game is getting. Sarcasm and I did a playthrough on Foundry of the new Cardassian arc, and the last mission was just phenomenal. Like, you're in the middle of this forest, like, so well done. And this was on Tribble. I haven't played it on Holodeck yet, but I'm just really, really impressed with, like, I'm seeing it firsthand when I'm doing my videos and going to like render scale 2 and doing screenshots at render scale 3 and actually looking at the details. Like, they are coming along so well. Thomas the Cat and the revamp work that he's doing on the skins is like spot on. So I do have to give mad dope ass props to anybody who is doing artwork for STO. Like, they've really stepped up the game, and it's you can see it in the stuff that people are posting in like Reddit and the Stowe forums, in the forms of like videos or screenshots. Just phenomenal. I'm loving it.
Heavily agree with Alan's sentiments there. Especially with the Manticore. I love the way you designed the ship. Love the way you have the colors and the visuals for it. The nacelles are nice.
I know, it's just beautiful.
Yeah. Good. Bueno. Good job.
Yeah,
Nailed it.
Spencer, do you have a point to bring up before I move on to the next topic?
Well, I feel it's well done. I just hope they resolve the issues where it'll randomly reset your progress in a zone, which is what appeared to have happened to you yesterday when we were doing those runs in there. It seems like when someone else hops in, it resets the progress for some reason.
Yeah, I agree. There are still some issues there. So I think some of them are a couple of them are being fixed with tomorrow's patch. which we'll get to in a second. Before we bring up the patch notes, Snipey, our chief science officer, has him and his partner released a couple of videos in the past week. Federation Ships of the Line. We will be including the link to their channel plus the 2 videos in the patch in the show notes. Very nice, very well done. Snipey's gotten really good at working with the demo record. Especially there's a couple scenes where the ship is actually doing a barrel roll and it's switching between the different ships as it's doing a barrel roll. Absolutely fantastic, good looking. I highly recommend you guys check it out.
Snipey and Anna have been flexing their creative muscle and their skills in working with demo record, as well as what they're doing with the tools that they have available to them. And they are phenomenally just putting out a nice quality vid that you could sit there and just watch and like, I'm not playing the game right now. I'm just watching this thing do its thing. And yeah, I'm enjoying this. And I'm going to continue to enjoy this some more. And, oh, they're going to be a part 2? Great, I can't wait to see it. That type of wow factor to it. Yeah, it's nice. And I love seeing how far they have come and what they're doing. And I just want to share this with everybody out there so they can watch it and feel the same way with this, like, ooh, this is nice. Yeah, I want to see what they have next. It's awe-inspiring, and it's just, love it.
Next up, let's move on to the Tribble patch notes. We're just going to wrap things up real quick here, guys, and we just have a couple things left. Should I do this screen share, or will you be doing that, Odin?
Well, you could do that. You could do the screen share on this one here. I'm handling the chat.
All right. Let's see if I can get this going.
I would like to say for all the Mac users out there, relief is coming, even though there's going to be a slight bug on the relief. It is coming. You're going to get your fix. Cryptic, please look out for your Mac users out there and help them out one way or the other, please. Thank you.
All right, so release notes. A few things have been fixed, such as the dilithium discount for KDF ships. That's been resolved. Another issue that's been resolved real quick was the shared cooldown between the Terran and Iconian daily marks. That's been fixed, thank goodness. Something about the relativity rifle. I think that's a Lobby store rifle. Right, it is. Mm-hmm. Some fixes to that. The main fixes here. The quantum phase torpedo. Now that's a torpedo with issues, some really nasty issues. Mm-hmm. One of them was that it was overhealing. That was fixed. It was the other issues with the torpedo have not been fixed. I really don't want to talk about the issue, but what I can describe to you guys is, this issue you have with chemocyte and torpedo spread. Well, this torpedo has the same issues, but worse. So yes, this torpedo is causing quite a bit of lag because of its multiple proccings on things. Hopefully they're taking a look at that and will fix it in the future. It is not actually mentioned in the notes here.
One thing I'd like to say about that torpedo, though, it's definitely overperforming in some areas, but I think it's overperforming in the shield drain. Isn't it supposed to drain all shield facings?
It's only doing one shield facing, and it's supposed to be doing all, I believe.
Correct.
I think. I'd have to look at the shield note. So it's really buggered. There's a lot of issues with it. Hopefully they'll get that resolved at some point. Moving on. okay. Whatever. They did a nerf to quantum destabilizing beam from 180 degrees to 135 degrees. That's fine. I don't think that's really too big of an issue.
It's not a nerf, it's just a fix. It's supposed to be aligned with the deflector angles, which is supposed to be how it's supposed to be. So that's a fix.
So here comes the actual big fixes that they did. They are bringing back Defera and Nukara. That was broken, and they're bringing it back. It's been fixed. So look forward to that coming back tomorrow. The rewards for Terraknor and Counterpoint have been increased. We spoke about that. I think it popped in the forums and on the Reddit, and I think we talked about it on last week's show.
Mhm.
That's been increased. Hopefully, it'll be good. We have to wait and see how it actually plays out, but initial reports seem to be pretty favorable. Next up, Herald's Fear. The Herald's Fear. The Elite one was so broken it was incompletable. It was literally impossible to complete. That has now been fixed. The issue of it under a warning, yeah, that's still, I guess we're going to have to see about that. Oh, and here's an interesting one. Resolved an issue where players would be sent to the respawn point if the shields of an enemy starbase was touched. That was freaking annoying. I'm really glad they resolved that one.
And looks like something nice under that for you.
Oh yes, we have a new meme now. So there was a problem with Federation Fleet Alert, Federation Blockade, and Fleet Defense, and I believe the Klingon versions of those missions as well, where the map was missing. It was just plain gone, and you would warp in, and all you would see was blue. I actually made a video of that for a little bit of fun. That's being fixed. Those maps are coming back. But from now on, if there is something broken in the game, and it's broken because it's missing something, we're just going to say that is blue, because I have decreed it.
I smell the I'm Blue song just ringing all over the place. Yeah.
So,
No
Matt
more
Klein is-
invisible ships in Corfez, I hope.
Corfez, I have no idea. I hope that's still a problem.
I'm Blue.
Mac clients are still having an issue. Now, tomorrow, we have something new. We're having the mirror event. It is finally back. We've missed it for the past 2 cycles, I think. So it's coming back tomorrow. And of course, it's going to have some decent rewards. I think if you complete the 14 little tokens that it requires, you'll get 50k dilithium, 250k marks of your choice, and 250 fleet marks, and then 500 marks of your choice.
Yeah.
And then you also get something new called the Agony Rifle, which looks like a little mini Star Destroyer with rifle handles. That should be interesting. I wonder what the stats are on that. We'll probably see a devlog about that tomorrow. Let's see what else is in the notes. Heavy torps don't benefit from shieldPen abilities. I guess it's a torpedo thing. That's you, Odin.
Yeah, that was me. That was supposed to precede the whole discussion with the ships there. But for the kinetic community, looking at this new trait, and for all the vets who think that weapon system synergy was fixed, no. Heavy torps still do not benefit from shieldPen. We're going to have to wait. Cryptic, please fix. Thank you.
Weapon system synergy,
Yeah. Wait for 10 stacks and then hesitate instead of 11 stacks and hesitate. Now it's 10 and then it procs over. But it's still good.
Such a broken trait, isn't it, Odin?
Yeah, it's so broken. Really. It's so broken. Are you going to say something?
It's tempting, but I'll hold on to that black note for a later day.
Oh boy, yes.
So we're approaching 4 hours?
Yeah, 4 hours. For everybody who's been here, I'm seriously You guys are troopers. Thank you very much for sticking around and listening to this. I know people have been coming in and out. Obviously, this will be broken up in the podcast. So we wanted to keep it to 2 segments, but hey, you know what? We went with it. We got it. We're just doing it live. So
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
exactly.
So much information. Like we lost Timber along the way, and Moneybags had to.
Yes, and we want to thank Moneybags for coming on here. We're going to get a link to a few of his blogs that he's been posting up. I believe they're hosted by Priority One, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Most probably, yes. He
Most
does
probably.
write blogs for them.
Okay. Yes, but definitely we're going to be getting a couple of his links there, and we're going to have people directed, because I've read a few of them and they've been quite entertaining, and a little bit of insight into the economy of this game as well. So, but for everybody who's been here, we definitely thank you for staying around this long and listening to it. Yes, there's been a lot of information, and we felt like we still glossed over some stuff that we wanted to discuss, but this whole 3-ship deal / situation has definitely just taken up a lot of our time with this and a lot of our thoughts. We just had to put it out there.
Then there was the whole economy thing at the start of the show.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
that took so much longer than I was expecting.
Well, but it was a good discussion. I'm thinking, man, we're starting to get into macroeconomics here at this point. But it was a good discussion. I enjoyed it, even though I couldn't talk with it. I was jumping in within chat and listening in, and like, what, this happened for a good reason. I'm going to sit down, shut up, and enjoy the conversation. Yes.
Yeah, next week I think we still have a bit to talk about next week.
Yes, yeah.
Some sort of giveaway.
Yes, we have some giveaways, and it's going to be. I'm just going to give away a little bit of the format. It's going to be round robin giveaway.
Ooh.
And it's going to be, each member of the show is going to choose how they're going to give away what I'm going to give them to give away, courtesy of Luke Critter and courtesy of Madame Banhammer herself, Laughing Trendy.
I
Thank
didn't hear
you.
about the second part.
Well, thank you, PWE and Laughing Trendy, for the donations. And thank you very much, Luke Critter, for relaying that over to us and making it on your behalf as well. So we get to give to our fans of the show something for a surprise. Initially, I want to keep it as a complete surprise, but Dundo kind of like let out a little bit of it. So I figured, okay, fine, whatever. So
It was mentioned earlier today, so I figured
it was, yeah, might as well.
Little teaser for y'all to come back next week and find out what we got going on.
And I'd like to thank Cam, especially for the broad shoulders that he has in carrying everything in the kitchen sink around here. And Timberwolf for being the chief logistics officer that he is and making sure that things stay functional at all times. You know what, Alan? Please, you know what we need? We need a closing video, man. Can you deliver on that?
I can deliver on that.
I know you can deliver. We'll get a closing video from Alan. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to have people post on the forums, every single forum that you see us in there, whether it's in the MediaCorp forum, over on the ARC forums, whether it's on Reddit, or whether it's on the YouTube channel here. Give us ideas, and Alan will pick the best ones out of them and use that for his temp.
I have an idea. A picture of a Defiant being blown up by the crystalline torpedo by a scimitar.
Oh my god, it's too late for this.
I have a feeling that it won't just be me who's going to end you. I think Odin is going to end up ending you as well.
Well, I think you're going to like the Ox to Defiant that I'm going to have to set up tomorrow in your name.
I am going to have to hurt you.
I'm going to fly around you in circles with it. I'm going to put TBR on, follow you around in Azure with it. It's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to like that ship.
That's great. You're going to spend money on that ship. Good job.
No, I'll just spend dill on it.
Still buying it.
It's worth it. It's worth it. It is worth it. I will buy it just for you.
No. Whoops, I muted the wrong person.
Oh,
Let me see. Let me see. Mute. There you go. Take it away. Take it away, Odin. Odin. It seems that we have lost him.
Maybe. Well, I guess we can close it out here. I'll finish it off this time for y'all. On
Go ahead.
behalf of Mr. Odin Knight, catch y'all next week, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Good night, y'all.